it's an incredible honor to meet you.
Thank you.
You know, you've been one of the very first figures that I have not only admired just for your activity as a musician and as a creator, but as an entrepreneur as well. You know, and I've always liked that about you because you haven't been active and productive and creative just in the music side of things, but you've been obviously involved with many different groups and genres in your coffee, in your books, and you've always been very open to, you know, give yourself and invest yourself into different endeavors, you know. Yeah. So I'll be interested to hear, like, can you describe this drive for creativity from your side? Is it something natural that always comes to you, or is it something that you've developed?
You know, it's funny. So I grew up on a farm, right? And I didn't realize, you know, until I became a professional musician, you know, especially in my 20s, how much farming and music was the same, right? Yeah. You know, if you don't plant the crop, you don't get a harvest, you starve, right? Yeah. And sometimes there's things beyond your control, the weather, you know, in our case, music genres, the taste of the public, you know, do they, whatever they gravitate toward. So there's things from within and there's things from without that kind of redirect your course. And I think when you're entrepreneurial, you know, look, I've never been a guy to go to the office and just, you know, kind of do that. And thank God there's people that do. I was never raised like that. So I was not around it. And a couple of times I did it. It's, you know, it was okay, but just, it wasn't for me. You know, I realized my life is out there, not sort of in here, you know? And so for me, you know, this way of life is a nice mix for both sides of my brain, you know, because there's some days where it's all about the business and there's other days it's all about the music, you know, and, you know, really when you're making music and you're making records, you're in the music business, but when you're out doing what we're doing, you're in the entertainment business and you also play music, but it's about entertaining because as soon as you set foot on a stage and you charge someone $1 or €1 or 1 shekel, you know, to come in through that door and see you perform, you're now in the entertainment business. So entertain them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how would you, you know, because with all of those different avenues, and it seems that you always have this like ongoing motivation to continuously do new things and to develop yourself and stuff like that. And, you know, when it comes to your profile and if you achieved so much, and it seems that you're still having this very genuine drive to continue doing so. How do you maintain that? And have you had a moment where you've lost that and you had to like rejuvenate it?
You know, probably when I was the most challenged with that was back in the 90s. You know, we were on tour all the time, making an album, going on tour, making an album, going on tour, and playing the same, say, 15 songs night after night after night. To me, that was when I was in a rut. I remember writing a column for Bass Player magazine talking about that, like how do you get out of your rut, you know? And sometimes you have to just be jettisoned out of it. You know, something happens. In my case, Megadeth disbanded in 2002. Well, that was my flicked out. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, okay, wasn't expecting this. You know, that was a moment where I went, oh, okay, well, guess what? Welcome to the rest of my life. And, you know, so that got me involved in other sides of the music business. You know, I ran artist relations for Peavey, their worldwide artist relations. And that was great because it really allowed me to use the oomph that I had from my Megadeth career to be helpful to the Peaveys with their product line and talking to other artists and people there, everybody from Leonard Skinner, you know, who are icons, to the next icons like Slipknot and Nickelback and Kid Rock and those guys, you know, as they were coming up the rank. And so, you know, then I went back to Megadeth, of course, in 2010. And one of the first, well, I played a couple months of touring, but, you know, we did the big four here, of course, right? You know, that was when I got to enjoy, you know, kind of what Pantera's enjoying right now, right? This big, you know, sort of reunion of sorts, bringing it back. The fans are happy. The band is happy. You know, the world has sort of become one again, you know, and that, I got to experience that going back to Megadeth. And during that time, I came back a very different person than I was when I had left it in 2002. I was very much a man on my own 2 feet. I had my own entrepreneurial spirit, my own things that I was doing, my own creative channels, and I wasn't going to close those off and turn that, that faucet off just because I was back in Megadeth. In fact, if anything, to me, it added to it, and I think it made me a much better member of the group, and so I look at some musicians who have been in one group the whole time and haven't had the opportunity to stretch out and do some things, and I'm glad that I'm on the path that I have, because I've gotten to do all of it. I've gotten to really do all of it, and start companies, start businesses. The coffee thing, like you talked about, it's just passion to me because I don't drink anymore. So for me, coffee's kind of my thing, and it just sort of fell in my lap. And a lot of these things, someone suggested, like the coffee thing. Someone just said, "Hey, you should meet my friend. He's got a coffee company. You two'd get along." Next thing you know, we're starting my coffee company. And so I think a lot of it is just being open to the things coming. And it isn't so much a drive as it is being led. And that's a very different sort of motivation. When I wake up and I'm inspired and you go towards something versus I have to make this happen at all costs, because, that was the early days of Megadeth. Yeah. But even that, we knew we were led, like we knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen on its own timeline, but we just, every day we worked at it, and, I like the attitude of you just try to make yourself 1% better every day. And after 100 days, you're 100% better than you were, nice. Right?
Yeah, that makes such a great sense. Makes a great sense. What I really, like about you as a personality is that you've always been very open to your responsibility as someone with influence. And whenever it comes to, regardless of if it's interviews or, your attention to detail as a musician and so on. And what I really like is actually one of your books where you're actually giving advice to young musicians and stuff like that, right. Which I think is actually one of the very first few books of this sort that has been released, Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Making music your business. Absolutely, the guy for young musicians. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, because I was reading a bunch of other books at that time. I was newly sober. I was probably in 3-4 years clean, so my mind was clear. I was open to all kinds. I was like, oh my God, there's all this stuff I can do, right? When you're not sort of lost in a bottle or doing that lifestyle. So I was just awakened, and I was in my my late 20s. My career was really rocking, and I thought about it. I go, man, because so many of our fans in this genre are also musicians, right? Maybe not professionally, maybe not even semi-professionally, but they just like to play it. They like music. They just want to learn some of our songs, and it's fun for them, So I thought, man, if Gene Simmons or Angus Young or Geddy Lee or my heroes had ever written a book that says, "Hey, come here, kid, this is what this is all about."
Let me tell you something.
Kind of just because there's no free lunches in life, and there's no fast track. How do you get 20 miles in? You got to walk 20 miles in, and 20 miles in is 20 miles out, So it's none of this stuff is an overnight success as much as we all want it to happen. And, but it just isn't, and when you finally arrive, I remember on Rust in Peace tour, my friend Greg, who I grew up with, and we moved to LA together, and he was one of the other co-founders of Megadeth. He goes, "Dude, you made it, man, you made it." And all I'm thinking is like, man, I'm still climbing out of debt. Like, my guitar tech's making more money than me and Dave were making. And I was living on a $20 per diem on the road. Yeah. And, the perception was huge, and it was growing and it was getting bigger. But in my mind, have you made it yet? Did I play some big places? Yeah. Did we sell records? Yeah. But, in my opinion, I've never been this feeling going, yeah, I've made it. Oh, thank God that's done. It's never like that. And I watch interviews with like coaches, on professional sports. And even when they win, they'll interview them and say, "Oh, what a great win today." And usually most of those coaches, but we got to tighten up our defense, and we still got to improve this, because those guys are never satisfied with just the win. It's just it's a pursuit, and the win, you should be happy about it. It's something to be to be happy about, but it's sort of this constant yearning. But it's like, I know, but if we can just get through there, it would be better. And but we can always improve, and that's what we talk about even every night with Kings of Thrash and with Dieth too. Is hey, let's tweak this little thing here. Let's make that a little better. Hey, let's work on that tomorrow. Sound check. Every day again, improve 1%. You know what I mean? Yeah. And some days you improve. I don't know. The other day we improved like 50%. Like we put some new microphones up, and suddenly there's a sonic change, and we were so happy. So sometimes things fall out of the sky that are just so random, and I think that's the other part of it too, is being open for the things to come your way. I always say, if I'm chasing it, that's self-will. That's me driven by my own will. But when the phone rings or an email shows up, said, hey, David, you want to be part of this? Or, hey, can we'd love to have you be part of that. To me, that's like, that's the divine universe. That's the creator, the creator with the big C, right? And I'm the created with the small c, right? Yeah. And he creates through us. That's what he does. He utilizes us to create, just like you do here with your interviews. Yeah. And, so to me, that's kind of the thing is check in with the boss every day. I think that's however you perceive the boss, check in with the boss. Lead me where you need me. That's kind of the deal, I think.
That's a great point. And you've touched on something that I would be very curious to hear your stance on. Obviously, when it comes to very driven people like yourself, and you've mentioned that you're always looking past your achievement and you're looking for improvement and so on. But do you manage, even in those moments, to actually appreciate what you achieve and to not let your continuous drive for success to...
I mean, look, we're in Sofia, Bulgaria. The first time here, we played the Big Four, the biggest stadium in town. Yeah. Packed, huge, DVD, was live played cinema. In theaters around the world. Like the big kid get any bigger. It was the top of the heap, right? Yeah. That was my first time here. Second time, Megadeth, we played some smaller auditorium, and it was what it was, right? Just another stop on the tour, right? Then 2020, my last show I actually played with Megadeth was here in Sofia when we came here with Five Finger Death Punch, and you could tell very much that was our audience. You could tell that was. There's some nights we played other cities, you're like, wow, this is definitely a Five Finger Death Punch audience, and that's cool. The new guys coming up, claiming their turf, but here for sure it was definitely very much a Megadeth audience. And so in a cool way, it's kind of cool that if that is my last show ever with Megadeth, it was here. It was here with the people of Sofia. And now I'm here and playing in a smaller rock and roll nightclub, but this gig is just as important to me as the biggest ones I ever played here, because there's a saying in jazz, you're only as good as your last gig, right? And that doesn't just mean your last show, it means the last person you played with, the last band you were with, all that kind of stuff. So every gig you play is as important as the last one. This one here tonight for a few hundred people is every bit as important as that one we played for 50, 60,000 people with Metallica, because you're really leaving it all on the stage, and this is a different mission. We're digging deep into the catalog, playing songs that are such fan favorites, and they're part of my fabric, part of who I am, help create those tunes, and same with Jeff Young, and so it's important that this is the message tonight, right? That, hey, we didn't forget about you. We didn't forget about the songs. We didn't forget about what made us. We're back in the trenches where it all started, and just enjoying all of it. Waking up today, we're driving through some corn and bean fields or something. It looked like Minnesota where I grew up. I go, where the hell are we? I had to do a pin drop on my map and my phone and go, where am I? Oh, there we are, an hour outside of Bulgaria or Sofia. So, to me, it is about the journey. And I have to remind myself of that, and as the leader, I remind the troops about that too. It's like, hey, there's don't play music for money. If you just go play music because you enjoy it, money will come, and the enrichment. I mean, our singer Chaz is out seeing your cathedrals. He's going, oh my God, I can't believe this place, and so it tickles me to see these guys have the experience that I've gotten to have, kind of like a proud papa, taking the next generation out, and to experience this stuff, and it's all because of we play some songs, and there's all these people outside who can't wait to see those songs. That's why we're here. We're not here for us. We're here for them.
Was it difficult for you to achieve this sort of objective assessment on your achievement and what you're doing with your career? Or...
No, I think I've always had it. It's always
amazing.
been like that. Yeah, it's always been like that. I mean, look, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be kissed. You know, I mean, like, how do they do it? You know, and I guess to some degree, I still do. You know, how do they do that? You know, I used to see Kiss whenever they would come through, and I'd be like, it's like watching a plane take off. It's like, you know, I understand it's, you know, it's lift, thrust, drag, right? Those are the three, you know, fundamental components of a plane. But I still look at it and go, how the hell does that thing get off the ground? You know what I mean? And it's just this wonder. And I'm kind of the same way when I go to see Rammstein, you know, or see Kiss especially, you know, because they were my heroes. And I know how it works. I know it's lift, thrust, drag. I know the elements of what it is. But to watch them do it, I'm like, God dang it, man. It's like...
It's the magic.
There's magic there of how they do it, you know? And that's always what I look for, whether it's some guy singing his song on the sidewalk, or if it's Rammstein or Metallica with the biggest productions. It's like, is there magic there? Is it heartfelt? Do they mean it? And do they mean it together? You know, because it's easy in a band if you've been together a long time. Personalities can drift, lifestyles drift, but hopefully when we get back on that stage, there's still this common bond where you look at each other and go, "Fuck yeah, we're still here doing it," you know.
Nice. So, would you say you're still passionate about music as a fan, even? Or is it difficult?
and I like hearing new stuff, you know. It's funny, I did my Grammy vote for the nominations, and there's that's where there's these huge lists, you know, to narrow it down to like the 5 or 6 that are actually going to be nominated. It just got announced yesterday. And that's an opportunity for me to go, oh my God, I didn't know I did a new record. Oh wow, I got to do some homework. I need to listen to this new thing. But, you know, I mean, look, I always love, you know, new things that are coming out. I mean, look, you know, it's funny. I was not a big Linkin Park fan. It just was not my song. It wasn't my. I get that people got it.
Yeah.
It wasn't my song. And then, you know, I know Emily a bit because we did a Shiprock cruise together, and we were the sort of the guests, you know, famous people on there. And I know of her band Dead Sarah, of course. But now to hear her in Linkin Park, I'm like fully a fan. I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like going, what a great thing. And Mike Shinoda, is that his name? Yeah. So I did not know really much about him. And now hearing him do interviews, you know, here's a man with some real depth experience. He's a creative guy. He's had to captain that ship of that band, you know, through a lot of stuff, you know, stuff that unthinkable stuff that he's had to go through. And yet, you know, the joy you see him have now that it's landed on the other side, and to have a reset. And I'm just happy for people like that when they get a reset. Even with Alice in Chains, you know, after everything they went through. And then when they came out, they were opening for Velvet Revolver, you know, many years back, and they were out with their new singer, with William. And just to see it going, oh my God, these guys are getting a second chance. And so I'm always happy. KK's Priest.
Yes.
You know, again, me with going back to Megadeth, you know, to the Pantera guys, it's like just seeing people have this second chance at something that brought so much joy to so many people, and hopefully there's always a newfound appreciation from us that get to have these experiences. We sort of get a mulligan, as they call it, a second chance, and you know, hopefully we appreciate it as much, hopefully maybe even more than we did the first time around.
Amazing. And you know, as I've mentioned, I'm really fascinated by the different hats that you are wearing in general, as a writer, as a musician, as a businessman. How would you compare your mindset in these different avenues? I'll be interested to hear, like, is there a different approach that you undertake when it comes to expressing yourself into these different spheres, or is it?
You know, I think when you write a song, it's a story.
Yeah.
What's the story about, you know? And, you know, that's kind of the simple thing. Hey, I wrote a song. Oh, really? What's it about? And can you answer that? Can you go, oh, man, it's about this guy meets a girl, and they fall in love, right? Or it's about this, whatever it may be, right? There's a guy at the bar, and he's mean, and he's angry, and you know, whatever the story is about, you should be able to kind of tell it in a couple of sentences.
Yeah.
They call it the 15-second elevator pitch, right? You get on the 5th floor, you got 5 floors to give your pitch, you know? And you know, I think when you're writing a book, it's the same thing, right? Whether it's a music business book I wrote, whether it's your own life story. And, you know, with my life story, my friend Joel MacGyver, thank God, wrote that with me, because he knew how to sort of time capsule the chapters. Yeah, let's talk about when you were young. Okay, let's talk about when you moved to Hollywood. All right, let's talk about when you started Megadeth. All right, let's talk about these different eras of my life, and so that helped me. And I've learned from all those experiences of just sort of how to compartmentalize things so that you can put it into chapters. And I also learned too when you write a book. Depending on the style of book, but a memoir for sure. It's nice that whenever you put it down, even if you walk away from it for a week, when you pick it back up, you can pick it up anywhere and start reading again. And David Lee Roth's book was like that. Ooh. He was so when I had his book, I'd read a little bit. It was funny. I'm a huge Van Halen fan, and I put it down. A couple weeks, month later, I'd pick it back up, and whatever page, just pick a page and you read it to go, oh my God, this guy, the stories. And I thought that was so cool to just be able to, because it's not a novel. It's not like you got to read it from beginning to end. So sometimes those books are fun where make it entertaining. So no matter where you put it down and pick it up from, the story just carries on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talking about books, I know you read a lot, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you say are the names and the authors or the books that you'd say have been significant for your development?
It's funny, those, I was a Dean Koontz fan by way of Nick Menza. And that's why it was very cool when Dean wrote our biography for the Euthanasia album. It was very cool. And I didn't get to talk to him. Dave talked to him. And I was like, man, I want to talk to him, because I was such a fan of his. So that I read a lot of the Jack Reacher stuff, just stuff to kind of kill the time. But, things that just remove me from all of this reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
So I'll read some of those things. There were some kind of self-help books, I guess that I was reading maybe, again, in my early sobriety in the early 90s. There's a Robert Heinlein book that I read called Farmer in the Sky, and that kind of influenced the Foreclosure of a Dream lyrics.
Wow.
I took a lot, from that story because having grown up on a farm and sort of this futuristic farming kind of mentality, so that was where some of the influence for those lyrics. So there's just a couple.
Wow, that's amazing. You've mentioned sports and coaches and stuff like that. Do you watch sports? Do you like sports?
I do. My son is a huge fan of all sports. I mean, he has got just this mind for this stuff, And in fact, when he meets you, he finds out where you're from, and then he's kind of, are you a college guy? You a pro guy? What's your sport? So I learned a lot from him because he's the keeper of the facts, with that kind of stuff. And I'm not a fan like he is. I'm a bit fair-weathered when it's like, World Cup or the Super Bowl or, some PGA tournament or something's going on. I pay a little more attention just because I'm in my travels and I'm around the world. I'm not as synchronized to be able to watch every game. And I know some guys who, man, they are tied to Monday Night Football, whether they're in Argentina, they're in Germany, or they're in America. They are watching that no matter what. And I'm not that dedicated. But sports, look, being an athlete is no different than being a musician. On a professional level, it's entertainment. That's all it really is. It's entertainment. They play sports, we play music, but when you're on that stage, you're on that field, you're on that basketball court, you're an entertainer, right?
Absolutely.
Dazzle the crowd. It really is. It's about dazzle the crowd. That's what the owner's paying you for. Just like the promoter, they're paying you to dazzle the crowd, man. That's what it is. It's no different than Barnum and Bailey Circus, whether you're walking a tightrope or breathing fire or whatever you're doing. It's just that's what we do.
Final two questions if we have time. So, you've experienced so much in so many different avenues, obviously. And I know this is, a very difficult question, but what would you say are the main lessons that you've learned as part of your, personal development through everything that you had?
Well, I think the first thing is try to just be joyful in what you're doing. It's a gift, and we've all got different gifts. Even in a band, there's different gifts. Bass player, don't try to be the drummer.
True.
Just stay in your lane. That's one thing, realize. And I think the other thing is if you're a good number one, hire a number two and a three who are better than you. And don't be afraid to get people around you who are better than you, because they will only raise you up. As they say, all boats rise. When the water rises, all boats rise. So, for me, I like to work with the best people I possibly can. And then I don't go for the name factor as much as just the best possible people.
And the synergy.
And some people, just because they haven't had a lucky break to the big time doesn't mean they're not perfectly qualified. And we all get trained and we learn as we go through the process, and so look, there's nothing replaces experience. I mean, that's just is what it is. But so I think those are just a few of the things that I and just try to be grateful, try to be thankful. Maybe it's because I'm getting a little older now, I don't know, but I've had that mentality the whole time. It's like, man, we get to play music. I remember one time I had kind of a spirit advisor sponsor friend of mine, and I was like, oh man, I got to go to Japan. He goes, wait. You get to go to Japan. As he went to his office and worked, I went, God, you know what? You're right. I should probably shut up about that. And it's like, don't make this out like this is some laborious task. Oh, I can't believe I have to go to South America again. It's like, you get to go play your songs for people all around the world. And it doesn't negate that travel's hard, and there's just human things that beat on you a little bit, just the time changes and stuff. But you know what, it's like, just it's all just a gift, man. And we're not here very long. I've been coming up on 60 years now, and it seems like it was like I was 30 like just a couple weeks ago. I mean, in my heart I still am. I'm still the same guy. But the truth of it is I was at a museum the other day, and it said 100. It was giving statistics of people, right? And one of the last statistics is 100% of all people die. 100%. Like no one. It's not like, well, if you do this, you can survive. No, 100% all die, and and so it's kind of like. Don't just, I don't know. I and this is a lesson for me because I don't do it all the time. Travel light, like just carry a light load, you know what I mean? And I overpack always, and I carry too many creature comforts with me. So it's a good lesson for me to just remember that, you don't need to have that shit over there. Just travel light, man. And that's really kind of more of just a mindset. Yeah. Just kind of be ready to go. The phone rings, go, keep the bass tuned, keep your body in good shape. High line exactly. When it comes, go, man. And because I had a friend ask me that one time. I was asking him, I said, man, should I or shouldn't I, whatever the thing was. And he asked me, he goes, was there money involved? I said, yeah. He goes, well, first of all, I always take the money out of it. Okay, if there's no money involved, would I still go do it? I said, of course I would. He goes, then there's your answer. He goes, don't make it about the money. Just make it about going, because every time I've only done it a couple times when I played, you do a gig or something, and somebody dangles, oh, there's a lot of money. It's like, and every time I've done it just for the money, it's like there was never enough money. It was always unenjoyable. And there was always something behind it that I didn't like about it. So I'd rather just kind of go and do it. Even when I went back to Megadeth, I was like, you know what, be willing to do this for free, right? Would you do this for free? And I was like, you know what, I would, Now they paid me, but still, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about a paycheck. It was just about, I kind of want to go back out and play Rest in Peace again. That'd be a lot of fun, That'd be a good time. So that's how I just tried to always approach that gig. And even this one here is just, show up, man. You get to go to Sofia again,
And have fun and just be yourself.
Again,
and do what you do.
Hang out, talk shop, and goof off, So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And final one, and this is a question that I always ask people that I'm very interested in. Is there a question that you've never been asked but you've always wanted to answer?
See, now you put me on the spot. I can't think of the question, Look, I'm sure there's a gazillion of them, I mean, just about the time you think you've been everywhere, you go somewhere you haven't. Like yesterday, we were over in the Transylvania area of Romania. I've never, ever been there before.
How was that?
It was fantastic. In fact, I want to go back. But now they're calling me to the stage, so I got to go.
Okay.
So anyway.
We're good to go.
That's it. Awesome. Cool.
Awesome.